Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on December 14th, Saturday, December 14th, Saturday, 2013 at 1:20 in the afternoon Eastern Time. Now, I've been absent from y'all for a few days because of some matters that I will attempt to tactfully relate to y'all as the afternoon progresses. This may be a long one, guys. You might want to settle in. Um, about a little over a year ago, I did a stupid thing, which I can't detail. But it has involved me in a year-long anticipation, more than anything, of the consequences of that stupid thing. Well, the consequences finally became due on December 12th, Thursday. December, 2013, here on Thursday. So this required me to go over to Indianapolis, Indiana for an administrative hearing involving my Indiana medical license. And if of the few people out there who are intimately familiar with my physiology and habits of life, anytime I have to gear up to make an all-day slog somewhere, get so I have to present myself to the world in a way that the rest of the world likes to see me, people present themselves to the world. This is not a particularly easy, pleasant time for me. Still, nonetheless, asking the help of the Almighty always goes a long way to carry you along. And that has been done in Legion here in the months leading up to this. And it's one of these, you could tell it's going to be one of these cattle call hearings. It's like when you go to municipal court on a problem, which 30 some years ago I had to do. It's like everything's scheduled for 9:30. Everything's 9:30. Oh no, it isn't 9:30. I mean, not everybody's going to be seen at 9:30 or heard at 9:30. It's just like, everybody shows up at 9:30 and then they've got you under their control. See, that's sort of the way they wear you down a bit and submit to the power of the state. That sort of deal. And this was set at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I thought, boy, I sure hope those guys go out and have a good lunch. Yeah. Now, first of all, I left here at 8:30 in the morning to drive over to Indianapolis, and all was going very well until we hit some sort of construction thing, and it took me about 25 minutes to go 4 miles. Well, less than 4 miles, actually. As near as I could tell, what they were doing was they had a couple of guys out there with these, sort of bobcat type things that break up pavement. And every now and again, they'd be breaking up a piece of pavement. Now, isn't that a job more suited to warmer times of the year? I mean, Lord knows, the pavement needed replacing. I mean, it was like speed bump city for about 30%, well, no, 60% of the trip over from the Ohio border to Indianapolis. But you know, I had other things in my mind, and I had left myself a large cushion of time, so that was no problem. And so I got into downtown Indianapolis at about 12:10. Well, now it's time to find a place to park. And, well, all the parking garages have, you know, full. Well, I thought I'd try one of these hotel parking garages. Well, they want like $30. No, I said, you know, the guy came over, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm lost. I just want to find a way out. So I drove around some more, and finally, you know, on my many passes past the Indiana Government Center, you know, south. Lord knows where the one north is. You know, they have this diagonal parking, like, you know, like in a small town where you park diagonally rather than parallel park, you diagonally, you know. Now, the difference is that they've got little stanchions with numbers that point to opposing parking spots, and then they have like a credit card kiosk that you go put your card in, and you know, and you can pay for your parking. So you know, it takes me a while to pick up on these things, guys. I'm slow on the uptake on some things, and so I kind of figured out the routine. And meanwhile, there's this guy walking around. He's got like a little desk on his chest. He's got like strapped around his neck. He's got like a little desk on his chest. Now on this little desk, he doesn't have like a tablet or an iPad or this or that. He's actually got a ticket book. This guy's writing parking tickets. But he's got some other electronic device in his hand that he can somehow ascertain that these guys are overtime. So he's kind of like a, what do they call it, a hybrid. He's kind of like a hybrid meter maid or a meter man, a hybrid meter man in Indianapolis. And so he's going by checking people and sticking tickets on things. And it took me about 4 times to get my credit card to be accepted to pay for this parking. Now the maximum was only 4 hours. You're only allowed to be there for 4 hours. Now I was there at 12:45, so that meant I could only park there till 4:45. Now this thing had all the likelihood to last longer than that, but you know. So this guy seemed like a pleasant enough guy. So I said to him, I said, look, I said, if the worst comes to worst, you know, and I'm in there past 4:45, what's going to happen to my truck? I mean, are they going to tow it or are they going to boot it? What is it going to be, something awful, or is it just going to be a fine? He said, oh, it'll just be a ticket and a fine. I said, great. I said, how much is the fine? He says, $20. I said, great. He says, now if you don't pay it in 2 weeks, it's $40. I said, that's great. That's cheap at any price. Actually, it's cheaper than the hotel parking garages. I mean, it's actually the best deal in downtown Indianapolis, is, you know, to park overtime and get fined. Bear that in mind, guys, if you have to go to downtown Indianapolis. You know, now, of course, it was only by sheer luck that I happened to be driving by that diagonal parking space area when someone was backing out and left the space vacant, because otherwise that would have been snatched up in a heartbeat. Well, as later on in this tale will reveal, there are no revelations in general surgery. As later on in this tale will show, God was with me. Yes, he was. So, now it's time to find my way to this conference room where this hearing is going to be held. And when I say hearing, I mean hearing. I mean, well, I move ahead of myself. So they've they treat their public employees very well over in Indiana. This is quite a luxurious suite of. Well, first I had to get in, which meant the old body search, standing, turning around, pulling my socks up or my pants up over my socks. I was wanded. So finally, I was admitted into the inner sanctum of the Indiana state government agencies. They actually were fairly reasonable about it. I'm sounding sarcastic, but as these matters go, there was very little hostility and suspicion involved. So I found my way, well, with the help of a couple of other fairly reasonable state employees, to this area where, outside this conference room. Now, I looked into the conference room, which was locked, because I'd gotten there, let's see, by this time it was like 12, well, by this time it was like 1:10 in the afternoon, 1:10. And, well, these guys were on a lunch break, obviously. And they had a list of the people that were scheduled to be dealt with. You had to sign in. Well, I was number 3. I signed in on number 3. I thought, well, hell, I mean, I'm third in line. Maybe they'll just, third in line, and I'll be out here fairly soon. That was not to be. That was not to be. And just as well, too, at the end of this little tale. In time, the doors were unlocked. Oh, I must tell you, there was a sign on the door that said, "You must turn your cell phones off completely, completely. Not put it on silent, you must turn your cell phones off completely, because they interfere with our ability to record the testimony." Didn't say interfere, it said it would interfere. So apparently, on some level, the electronic technology also interferes with the ability to spell. It certainly did with someone over there. I mean, if you're going to put up a big poster that's like, wouldn't you expect that if one of the key words was misspelled, you'd redo it? This wasn't like this wasn't like, some kid had gone out in junior high school and done a poster board project. It's computerized, guys. Even I know that now. So come on. Well, anyway, so what was interesting was toward the end there, within the 15 minutes before 2:00, whenever somebody would see somebody come into the conference room or the hearing room, all these people who were clustered outside, and there's 24 of us, bear in mind, most with attorneys. So that means there's more than 24 people. I did not have an attorney. they sort of, you see somebody in the room and they sort of cluster around the door. And this reminds me of a feedlot video that the Peterson brothers from Kansas have shot, where they show the sort of the feed cart that's going to dispense feed, their feed ration into the trough where the cattle in the feedlot go over and eat. Every time the feed cart goes by, the cattle come over whether it's going to get feed or not. And I thought this is exactly like that. When I say hearing room, I'm not horsing around. I mean, you had there's 7 members of the board, and then you have an administrative assistant, and you have then a sort of a legal advisor, and then in the back of the room, you've got people from the Attorney General's office. And in the side of the room, you've got people from this, sort of the impaired physicians rehabilitation program that Indiana runs. Which, that doesn't have anything to do with me. So, still, I mean, you've got, it's like, so, as the hearing went on, and I didn't get called, I had this sort of thought about a story that I had been told in 6th grade social studies. Now, my school system, from about, well, it's only in 6th grade. Let's put it that way. Social studies. What a bullshit term. That's just a bullshit term. But anyway, that's what it's called. And our form of multiculturalism then was, learning about Latin American countries and their history. And actually, in that sense, some of that stuff was fairly legitimate. Nonetheless, so one of the little segments had to do with, throwing virgins into the volcano, or having virgins come up and have their hearts cut out and sacrifice, by these pagan Aztecs or the Incas, or name your favorite, horrible tribal practice du jour. And I got thinking, like, well, as one after one of these guys got called forward, and the afternoon waxed on, I thought, I'm kind of the last virgin to be thrown into the volcano. Well, then I got thinking, well, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Because some sociologists have theorized that was a good thing. If you're the last virgin to be thrown in, that meant that you were the most worthy, And the other guys said, oh, well, that means you were the least respected. So, into the hole you go. Into the hole you go either way. Excuse me. So, what was interesting about this is as it turns out, I was the 23rd of the 24th. There were 24 people there, and I was the 23rd to be dealt with. And so you spend the afternoon trying to sit, in a respectful attitude, and not attract attention to yourself. And when they took a break, you'd stand up and try to stand erect and so forth, and present yourself, at least to the visible viewing public, as not some sort of weirdo, And I decided not to dress like a weirdo. I put on a shirt and tie and my vest and my suit jacket. Coldest day of the year. It's I left it as 8. When I got over there, it was 6, and it never rose above 6 on the way over. On the way back, it got up to like 14. Still, you do what you have to do, don't you? So I spent a lot of time in prayer over this, both before and during. And my prayer was this: Lord Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner, and grant me a quiet mind, and grant me peace of mind, and fill my heart with your love so that I can reflect that into the world in peace and truth. And also, the good old standby: O God, make speed to save us. O Lord, make haste to help us. That was said many times during the afternoon there in Indianapolis. Well, as it happened, well, no, I want to expand on this a little bit more before I tell you what the outcome was, which wasn't bad, by the way. A lot of these fellows were there. Well, there were some that were there because they'd just been in the wrong place at the wrong time with their wives or their girlfriends or an issue of temperament. Just the wrong time. Enough people were there to gripe about them that they got called on it. A lot of other people have gotten away with that without any problem at all. But there was one guy there with four felony indictments. And they didn't yank his license. They didn't even suspend his license. They just said, well, we'll let the Attorney General decide what's going to happen, and then we'll see what we do. I mean, in the other 2 states I'm licensed in, I'm going to tell you right now, they would have yanked his license right off the bat. That wouldn't even been an issue. Well, all right. And then, but what's interesting is there's there's this thing called the National Practitioner. If I'm looking up there, there's a spider crawling around the roof there I'm going to have to deal with, but I don't have to also try to splice this thing together. So you must excuse me while I gaze up there. Anyway, so the National Practitioner Data Bank, if some agency makes a report against you, I mean, that's on there pretty much forever, amen. That's like the internet, anything. Don't text those naked pictures of yourselves, guys. They're out there. Or if you do, make sure they're good pictures. So, what happened? There were a lot of these guys. Unfortunately, a lot of these guys were more foreign guys that Americans have a hard time, particularly in Indiana, understanding. There's a different ethos that they project that Americans are willing to put up with, and so they get reported. Also, but see, okay, there was that, and some of those things were legitimate, but there was another aspect of it is that in the drive to make certain specialties completely under hospital employee control, meaning, if you are in a certain specialty, like pathology, radiology, anesthesiology, you're going to be a hospital employee, or for that matter, internal medicine, depending on what you do in the hospital. You're going to be just an employee that if you don't agree to be an employee and you sort of buck back against that, then in your attempt to stay on the staff, what they can do is they can file, because certain entities are privileged reporters to the National Data Bank Practitioner System. Meaning, if you're a hospital medical staff board or a hospital medical, you can file a report to the National Practitioner Data Bank, and there's no the guy who is the subject of that can write a statement, but there is no legal recourse way to remove that statement and get legal remedy for the damage done to one's professional reputation by the filing of that report, because that thing's out there forever. Amen. That's out there forever. Amen. And so this is the new legal way to use a loophole in the civil libel law / slander law. Well, libel's written, slander's spoken. This is the new legal way to get around that common law rule about, libel and slander. You can have one of these outfits that are legally sanctioned to file a report, and it cannot be challenged. It cannot be challenged legally. You're just shit out of luck. Period. And there were a number of these guys that were caught up in this, and even allowing for my suspicion of, we all have to sort of suspect that there's a lot of self-promotion, don't we? Well, that's standard. I understand that. I'm sure there's a number of people that listen to this think, well, what'd you do, Jay? What'd you do? Well, I can't talk about that till late next year. But either believe me or you don't. It wasn't anything felonious. It didn't harm anybody. Okay, I ordered a bottle of cough syrup. 1 pint bottle of cough syrup. Well, getting into that. So it's the use of legal reporting tactics to F over medical practice opponents, and this is the new sort of tactic that's now becoming. I was very intrigued to hear this, because that's what would happen to me if I had stayed on at Grant. Well, yeah, I'm sure that they would have tried to figure that out. Sure. Why not? Get rid of me. They want to get rid of me anyway. Well, I made it easy for them. I just left. I didn't need to be there anyway. I would like to work another couple of years, but didn't need to. Okay. Thank God. Indeed. Thank God. But it was very interesting also, because I also found myself, as I listened to this in the afternoon, what I've written here, I've made notes. I made notes after I got home. An exercise in seeing how the half I would have become part of still lives. Well, what that means is that on some level, despite the fact that I don't particularly like the fact that I had to practice medicine for a living, nonetheless, it was very good to me. I was very reasonable, was more than reasonably good at it. And if I had to keep doing it, I could have kept doing it. But on the other hand, again, at a continuing price to what you really want to be and think you are and think you should be. The unfortunate thing about all this is that this last year has been spent stewing about all of this, and I hate to say it, but until I get the renewal from Ohio and I decide what I'm going to do, I have a feeling I'm going to be doing the same kind of low-grade stewing about it till then, too. So, because you can't lie to these people. No, I don't. Well, I don't want to lie to these people either. I mean, I don't want to lie to these people. So Oh, and so I got considering that in Russia, when you've got one of these oligarchy guys against you, they just kill you. But here in the U.S., if they don't like you, they just kill you financially. Uh, I don't think there's that much different. Well, obviously it's different because in one you're dead and the other you're alive. But I guess you go live under bread. You don't want to do that, do you? Well, no. Well, so then it became my turn here. So now let's get to the heart of the matter. I told you it was going to be long, guys. So they called me. By that time, I'd been sitting in this air-conditioned room, and you hear my voice now in a fairly dry environment, but well, for whatever reason, uh, well, and maybe this was God answering my prayers. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was God answering my prayers. I apparently sounded in my voice like I was crying. I hadn't been crying. I didn't shed a tear all day. But I think my voice sounded as if I had been. And they said, oh, well, see, they said, well, why hadn't I? See, I stopped seeing patients actively, well, patients, period, actively or inactively in 1991. And they said, and I had made it clear in my statement to them that I would do my continuing medical education hours each year and maintain my active licenses. Uh, as a matter of pride. And I said, I know that's a bit sinful, but that's a matter of pride. And I said, you 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 redefine yourself to become a physician, and you don't want to let go of that. And I said, so I kept up my licenses, and uh, and then the one fellow, well, the chairman, president board says, well, why didn't you consider giving up your licenses or going on to retired status or this, that, and the other? And I said, it just, one, it never occurred to me, and two, I couldn't bring myself to do it. That last statement, I think, is what saved me. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And there was one fellow that over the afternoon had become increasingly, well, how should we say, interventionist. And he said, don't we have a category of license called retired license? And the guy said, well, I don't know, we used to, And then the administrative assistant says, well, yes, we do. And he says, well, he has to do a separate application of that. But the other guy said, but haven't we also had them apply right here for a retired license? And well, yes, we have. And and the guy says, but it's still a license. I mean, it's still a license. Meaning that, and this is where they're saving my ass, meaning that if they grant me a retired license, if I apply for a retired license, I've not had any disciplinary action taken against me as far as Indiana is concerned. And they said, great, fine. And I said, Dr. Kersey, would you like a retired license? I said, yes, absolutely. Give me a retired. So that paves the way for what may or may not happen here in Ohio next year. This is so well. So it is. Deal with it like a man. There you are. I think I covered that. Well, suffice to say, I got out of there just at 4:45 before the meter expired, and this guy was gone. The meter man, with his little thing he was gone. So he clearly cleared out around 3 o'clock. So by the grace of God, I got home safe, and there we are on that one. Meanwhile, when I got home, then I got this great story from Paul about they're having a Marine toy drive, Marine Corps Reserve toy drive at the hotel, and some of the people who, hotel guests. Well, they're not guests, you're paying. So hotel clients, I guess would be a better word. They see these toys in this box and they just feel that they're free to be taken. So they'll take them out of these Toys for Tots Marine Corps Reserve Drive things, And then he's talking about how this time of year you get, groups, phalanxes, if you will, or phalanges of these sort of upper middle class bourgeois women coming down from the exclusive, expensive suburbs to spend time at the hotel while they go shopping here at this Polaris fashion place, or the whole area for that matter, and then he also talked about they had a conference room problem where one of the refrigerators, which was a refrigerator-sized refrigerator that contained Diet Cokes and things, cold drinks, if you will, and this thing had started to hum like mad and was interfering with the presentations, and so they got somebody to come in and replace it, but it turned out this guy replaced it not with a similar product. Replaced it with one of these little tiny dorm room refrigerators. Yeah. Well, I mean, as Paul says, sometimes they don't even take anything out of these things. Some days, some of these guys really raid the place. So you have to be ready for them to raid the place, and so you can't just rely on just the one small dorm refrigerator. Well, as I said, even if you despise what you become, you don't want to let go of that in terms of medical practice, meaning I just couldn't bring myself to let go of my license. See, they said, well, why didn't you do it? I said, I couldn't bring myself to let go of it. Why couldn't you? I just couldn't bring myself to let go of it. And that's true. I do my CME, I keep my license, because of pride. Now, that's a sinful thing. Pride is a sinful thing. I know. But, it's, you go through all of the stuff to become a physician, particularly if you don't particularly want to be a physician in the first place. It really pounds you into a shape you don't like about yourself. Nonetheless, once you've been pounded in that shape, you don't necessarily want to let go of it. This is a this is an odd thing. Well, no, it's not an odd thing. It's just the way the world is, and I've tried my best to avoid getting involved in it, but I guess not got another year to sort of stew about this on some level. At some point, God will let me know what to do. So there it is. I think I'm going to shut up now. I think. Got it back safe. All right. Well, and finally, maybe being able to sleep again here. I obviously didn't sleep when I got home. I was up straight through till. Uh, this is like when the dog died here. Not as bad, but sort of like it. All righty. Bye bye.